June 4th, 1943. Railroad Street, Unafitzia, Texas. The pencil in the hand of Unafitzia Burkhart trembles as he writes. He sits in a hidden corner of a train car, recording observations that would earn him solitary confinement in the Reich. He writes that the Americans must be lying. He believes no nation could possess such abundance while fighting a war on two fronts. He looks through the heavy glass of the train window. He sees something that contradicts 3 years of intense Nazi propaganda. Electric lights blaze from every farmhouse along the tracks. They shine from every street corner in every small town. They glow in every shop window. An endless constellation of electricity stretches across the Texas plain. It is 10:00 at night. In Germany, blackout regulations have plunged every city into total darkness since 1940. Even before the war, rural electrification reached barely 20% of German farms. Yet here, in what Nazi propaganda described as a decadent America, electricity flows like water. 1850, veterans of the Afrika Korps step down from the passenger train. They are not in cattle cars. They are not in freight wagons. They have arrived in cushioned Pullman coaches with dining services and sleeping berths. The entire population of Unafitzia has turned out to witness their arrival. What the civilians do not know is that this moment triggers a profound psychological transformation. It is the beginning of a systematic demolition of Nazi ideology. This is not happening through combat. It is happening through the sheer display of American industrial capacity. The mathematics of Allied victory are being written here. They are not in battle plans, but in production statistics that shatter every assumption these soldiers carry about their enemies. May 13, 1943, Cape Bon, Tunisia. The final shots of the North African campaign have been fired. A silence falls over the desert that feels heavy and permanent. General Jürgen von Arnim, the man chosen to replace Rommel, steps forward to surrender. He brings with him the remains of a once invincible force. Nearly 275,000 German and Italian soldiers are now in Allied hands. These were the Wehrmacht's most experienced desert fighters. They were the men who had driven the British back to the gates of Egypt. Now they are being stripped of their rank and their weapons. The scale of the surrender is so vast that the Americans struggle to count the prisoners. Columns of men stretch across the horizon. They move like a gray tide through the dust. Among them is Hedman Friedrich, Radka. He carries the weight of the Iron Cross First Class on his tunic. He is a veteran of the campaign in France. He has been wounded twice in the heat of the desert. In his diary, he notes the strange quiet of the march. The sound of artillery has been replaced by the low hum of thousands of American engines. The prisoners are loaded onto trucks for the trek to the port of Oran. They pass through the wreckage of their own ambitions. Burned-out panzers and abandoned Italian artillery pieces line the road. But more shocking is what is coming the other way. The Allied supply line is an endless conveyor belt. The Germans see thousands of GMC trucks. They see jeeps, half-tracks, and mobile workshops. The soldiers were told that American industry was a myth. They were told that the Atlantic was a graveyard for Allied shipping. Yet here, in the middle of a wasteland, they see a surplus of everything. Every American soldier seems to have a new uniform. Every vehicle has a full tank of fuel. The contrast with their own dwindling resources is impossible to ignore. July 12, 1943. The port of Oran, Algeria. The Mediterranean sun beats down on 30,000 men who once called themselves the masters of the desert. The sound of American typewriters clatters in the heat. The United States Army has turned this harbor into a colossal intake valve. The men of the Afrika Korps are no longer soldiers. They are data points in a massive bureaucratic experiment. The Americans move with the cold, calculated speed of an assembly line. Every prisoner is funneled through a series of stations. They are deloused with chemical powders. They are photographed with high-quality film. Their records are typed on sturdy machines that exist in limitless quantities. Obergefreiter Hans Miller waits his turn. He is a veteran of the 21st Panzer Division. He is used to the scarcity of the Reich. He is used to making a single liter of water last for 2 days. He looks at the American processing teams. Every soldier wears a clean, durable uniform. Their boots are made of high-quality leather. Even the lowest-ranking clerk has a wristwatch. In the Wehrmacht, a wristwatch was a luxury for officers. Here, it is standard equipment. Miller watches an American officer fill out a form. The officer uses a fountain pen. He writes on paper that is thick and white. When he makes a mistake, he simply crumbles the page and throws it into an overflowing bin. He starts a new sheet without a second thought. To a German soldier, this waste of paper is incomprehensible. It is the first hint of the industrial ocean that sits behind these men. The medical station provides the next revelation. The Americans have set up field hospitals that rival the best facilities in Germany. Miller is examined by a doctor who has access to an endless supply of medicine. He sees crates marked with the names of pharmaceutical companies from New Jersey and Michigan. They are giving vaccinations to every single prisoner. They use sterile needles. They use high-proof alcohol to clean the skin. The Americans are maintaining the prisoners like valuable machinery. They use sulfa drugs to treat minor infections that would have led to amputations in the German lines. The medicine is not ration. It is applied with a liberal hand. The German medical officers among the prisoners are stunned. They realize that the Americans are operating on a different technological level. The demolition reaches its peak at the mess hall. Miller receives a meal that feels like a feast. There is a loaf of white bread. It is soft and sweet. It is made from refined flour that has been extinct in Europe for years. There is beef and there are peaches and syrup. Then there is the coffee. The Americans drink it by the gallon. Miller sits in a state of shock. He was told the American economy had collapsed. Yet, the military ration he is being served is better than any meal he had in occupied Europe. The guards do not mock them. They do not have to. They simply exist as proof of a different reality. Many of them speak German with the accents of Munich or Berlin. They tell the prisoners that they are being taken to America. They tell them they will be safe. As Miller is marched toward the gangplank of a transport ship, he looks back at the port. The Americans are still unloading crates. The supply line is never ending. July 14, 1943. The Mid-Atlantic. A wall of gray steel rises from the swells. This is the SS Robert E. Peary Doughty. It is a Liberty ship. To the German prisoners on board, it is a floating impossibility. Hedman Friedrich Radka stands on the deck. He looks at the welds on the hull. The ship was not crafted by artisans. It was assembled like a toy. Radka learns a fact that shatters his confidence. This vessel was built in 4 days. It was launched in 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes. In Germany, such a feat would be called propaganda. But Radka is standing on the steel. He feels the vibration of the engine. The reality is undeniable. The Americans are not building ships, they are manufacturing them. The Wehrmacht believed in quality over quantity. The Americans believe in the power of the assembly line. This process has conquered the ocean. Lieutenant Colonel Wilhelm von Stobern watches the bridge. He's a Prussian aristocrat. He knows the science of war. He sees a rotating antenna above the bridge. It is radar. He is stunned. In the Wehrmacht, radar is a precious secret reserved for capital ships. Here, it is standard equipment on a cargo boat meant to carry grain. Stobern realizes a terrifying truth. If every freighter has radar, Germany has already lost. The technical gap is not a crack, it is a canyon. He watches the antenna spin against the gray sky. It is a symbol of a nation that can afford to give its best tools to its transport crews. The convoy stretches to the horizon. There are dozens of ships. They are being built at a rate of 3 per day. The Americans are producing ships faster than the U-boats can sink them. The arithmetic of the Atlantic has shifted. The engine room of the Peary is a cathedral of steam. The parts for this ship came from 32 different states. The cylinders were cast in Ohio. The boilers were made in Pennsylvania. The propellers came from California. Everything was brought together at a port that barely existed 2 years ago. The Germans were told that democracy was slow and inefficient. They see now that it is a giant that has finally woken up. July 21, 1943. Mid-Atlantic. The sound of the galley is a rhythmic clatter. Feldwebel Kurt Zimmermann of the 90th Light Division stands near the railing. He is watching something he cannot comprehend. He is watching the end of a meal for the American crew. In the German army, food was a sacred object. It was weighed and guarded. Every crumb of bread was gathered. Every scrap of meat was fought over. In Africa, Zimmermann had seen his men trade precious belongings for a single tin of sardines. They lived on a diet of dust and salt. But here, the rules of reality have changed. He watches an American sailor. The man carries a tray to a metal bin. On that tray sits a steak. It is thick and charred. Only half of it has been eaten. The sailor does not hesitate. He simply scrapes the remaining meat into the trash. Zimmerman feels a physical jolt. That single piece of meat represents more protein than his squad received in a week, and it is being treated as garbage. Another sailor dumps a bowl of white rice. A third pours half a gallon of fresh milk down a drain because it sat out too long. To Zimmerman, this is not just waste. It is a display of power so absolute that it requires no words. The Americans do not throw this food away to mock the Germans. They do it because they do not think about it. To them, the supply is limitless. Zimmerman records this in a letter. He writes that the American sailors dispose of more food waste each day than his entire company received in weekly ration. He notes the casual indifference of the crew. They are the sons of a nation that has forgotten what it means to be hungry. This realization is more devastating than any artillery barrage. It suggests that the war is not a struggle between two equal powers. It is a struggle between scarcity and infinite surplus. Some fanatical Nazis claim it is theater. They say the sailors are acting to break German morale. But Zimmerman has seen the sailors eating when they think no one is looking. He has seen the refrigerators in the galley. They are packed with crates of eggs and blocks of butter. The cold storage is a treasure house. The waste is the byproduct of a system that is operating at a capacity beyond human scale. It is the noise of a giant. The prisoners feel small in the face of this indifference. August 2nd, 1943. 8:00 hours. Norfolk Naval Base, Virginia. The gray morning mist reveals a sight that stops the breath of every man on deck. The Norfolk base sprawls across 4,300 acres of coastline. Its docks stretch for miles. Its cranes move with a rhythmic mechanical hunger. In a single day, this one port handles more tonnage than the entire port of Hamburg managed in a week. Gefreiter Johann Weber stands among the prisoners. He was a factory worker from the Ruhr. He knows the weight of industry. He sees 47 cargo ships in various stages of loading. He sees cranes that lift loads with a smoothness he has never witnessed. In Germany, such work would require a dozen men and a team of horses. Here, it is done by electric motors. There is no thick black coal smoke choking the air. The power is clean and quiet. The prisoners are formed into columns. Along the route, they pass something that shatters the last remnants of Nazi propaganda. They pass parking lots filled with civilian automobiles. There are hundreds of them. They belong to the dock workers and the welders. In Germany, private car ownership remained a privilege for the party elite. The Volkswagen had been a propaganda dream. But here, ordinary laborers drive to work in their own cars. Weber looks at the Fords and Chevrolets. They are well maintained. The workers carry lunchboxes filled with the same meat and white bread the prisoners ate on the ship. If the workers own the cars, then the nation's wealth is broad and deep. This contradicts everything the Wehrmacht was told. They were told America was a land of starving masses. They see now that the American laborer is more mobile than a German junior officer. The prisoners see mountain-sized piles of coal and forests of lumber. They see rows of tanks waiting for transport. The Americans are not just fighting, they are supplying the entire world. Weber notes the speed of the operations. A ship is emptied, refilled, and moved out. The cycle never breaks. It is 24 hours a day. Weber records in his diary that he saw more automobiles in 1 hour than in his entire life in the Ruhr. He realizes that a nation that can give a car to a dock worker can give a tank to every soldier. August 3rd, 1943. 9:00 hours. The rail yards outside Norfolk. The humidity is a heavy blanket. The veterans of the Afrika Korps wait for transport to the interior. They expect boxcars marked for 40 men or 8 horses. Instead, they see a line of Pullman coaches. These are gleaming passenger cars with large windows and padded seats. Hedman Radka touches the upholstery. It is soft and clean. He finds a seat that converts into a sleeping berth. An American sergeant walks down the aisle. He apologizes because the air conditioning is not working properly in this car. Radka stares in silence. Air conditioning. It is August in Virginia. The Germans thought such technology was reserved for Hitler's personal train. Here, it is an expected amenity for captured enemies. The train rolls toward the west. It passes through small towns at sunset. Every town blazes with illumination. It is Martinsville and Greensboro. In Germany, a single electric street lamp is a luxury. Here, Every shop window is a bright beacon. There are no blackouts. There are no shadows. The night is not a cloak for bombers, it is a canvas for American electricity. The prisoners press their faces against the glass. They see factories running night shifts under floodlights. The parking lots are full even at midnight. Obergefreiter Miller writes that he sees more electricity in a single American town than in the city of Hamburg. He calls his guard a liar. He believes the train is running in a circle to trick them. The guard just shrugs. He says every town in America has had power since the 1920s. The train stops in Roanoke. The prisoners watch the railway workers move with mechanical speed. They use automated coal loaders and high-pressure electric water pumps. What takes 2 hours of manual labor in Germany takes 30 minutes here. The workers wear leather boots and drink Coca-Cola from glass bottles. They throw the empty bottles into bins without a thought. Feldwebel Heinrich Müller, an electrical engineer, calculates the energy usage. He realizes the single railway junction uses more power than his entire home district in Berlin. The waste is magnificent. They leave lights burning in empty buildings. It is the arrogance of a nation that does not know the meaning of the word ration. August 5, 1943. 14:00 hours. The train enters the industrial heartland. The prisoners are looking at the machine itself. They see the Alcoa aluminum plant in Tennessee. It stretches for 3 miles. Its furnaces consume more energy than the city of Munich requires. The Germans know that aluminum is the lifeblood of the air war. They see now that America is growing planes from the earth. The train passes the Rubbertown complex in Kentucky. These synthetic rubber plants were built in 18 months. They produce 800,000 tons of rubber annually. Germany never managed more than 120,000 tons in its best year. Oberleutnant Erich Hoffmann sees the distillation columns. He knows these facilities are more advanced than anything in the Ruhr. The train passes near the Willow Run plant outside Detroit. This is the Ford bomber factory. It covers 2.5 million square feet. Inside, 42,000 workers are building the B-24 Liberator. They produce one heavy bomber every 63 minutes. Hauptmann Verley, a Luftwaffe pilot, counts the planes from his window. He sees 17 B-24s in various stages of completion. He was told American planes were inferior and hastily built, but he sees the precision of the assembly line. He sees the quality of the aluminum skin. These aircraft are built faster than a German mind can imagine possible. The train continues through the Midwest. The prisoners see the steel mills of Ohio. They see the barges on the Mississippi River. The barges carry more grain than the entire German harvest of 1942. Carl Schmidt, a farmer's son, sees a single barge being filled. It contains enough wheat to feed his home village for 5 years. In Kansas City, the smell of meat is overwhelming. Tens of thousands of cattle wait for slaughter. The Germans have lived on 200 grams of meat per week. They watch American workers eat beef sandwiches on their lunch break. They eat meat like the Germans eat bread. The guard buys the prisoners hamburgers from a station stand. He pays with a single dollar bill. The prisoners realize they are being fed by a nation that has no limit. The industrial manifest is complete. The war is not being won by soldiers, it is being won by the 63-minute bomber. The prisoners sit back in their padded seats. They listen to the hum of the air conditioning. They know the truth now. The Reich is a small candle flickering in the path of a hurricane. September 12, 1944 to sight. The Platte River Valley, Nebraska toddy. The horizon is an ocean of gold. German prisoners stand in the sugar beet fields. They look at the machinery. A single combine harvester moves across the earth and does the work of 100 men. In Germany, farming is a matter of muscle and horses. Here, it is a matter of gears and gasoline. Unafitzia Franz Weber watches a 16-year-old American boy drive a tractor. The boy handles the machine with casual ease. Weber calculates the cost. The tractor is worth more than everything his father earned in a lifetime. When Weber mentions this, the boy laughs. He says the tractor is old and his father is waiting for a new model. This is the reality of the American heartland. The fields stretch beyond the limits of human sight. The farmers speak of yields that would be fantasy in the Reich. 60 bushels of wheat per acre. Germany manages 30 on its best land. The prisoners are trucked through the Central Valley of California. They see orchards that have no end. They watch as workers discard fruit for minor blemishes. A small bruise means the apple is thrown into the dirt. In Germany, that apple would be a treasure. Entire crops are sometimes plowed under to maintain market prices. This causes a psychological breakdown among the prisoners. They come from a continent ravaged by hunger. They see mountains of oranges bulldozed into pits. The guards are sympathetic but cannot explain the economics. They only know that there is too much of everything. The waste is strategic. It is the proof of a resource base that has no bottom. Weber realizes that one American farmer with a machine outproduces an entire German village. The Americans transport food like the Wehrmacht transports ammunition. They move it in endless quantities. The grain elevators they fill hold more wheat than Germany imports in a year. The agriculture of the United States is a weapon of mass production. It is the final demolition of the Nazi myth. October 20th, 1944. Camp Hearne, Texas. This facility houses nearly 5,000 men. It is a city of wood and electricity. Every barrack has electric lights, flush toilets, and hot showers. The construction uses more lumber than 10 German villages combined. But the hospital is the true shock. Dr. Friedrich Bauer enters the camp medical wing and stops. He sees X-ray machines and surgical equipment made of stainless steel. He sees pharmaceutical supplies that disappeared from Germany in 1941. Then he sees the vials of penicillin. Bauer has heard the rumors of the miracle drug. In the Wehrmacht, men are dying from minor infections because sulfa drugs are rationed. Here, the Americans use penicillin freely. They give it to prisoners with minor scrapes. Bauer testifies later that the Americans gave their most advanced medicine to their enemies without hesitation. The generosity is incomprehensible. It suggests a nation so secure in its power that it can afford to save the lives of those who tried to destroy it. Feldwebel Otto Krebs manages the walk-in refrigerators in the camp kitchen. The daily ration includes fresh milk, eggs, and meat. American regulations require the kitchen to prepare 10% more food than needed. This ensures every man is full. The surplus is thrown away. Krebs weeps as he throws perfectly good bread into the garbage. He thinks of his family in Munich and the bread lines. The Americans discard what the Germans would die for. Every hot shower is an argument against the Reich. The prisoners live in a state of cognitive dissonance. They are the enemies of the state, yet they are treated with a material dignity their own government could never provide. The machine of America does not just produce tanks. It produces a level of care that shatters the spirit of the captive. May 8, 1945. The German prisoners in America watch newsreels of the liberation of the concentration camps. The psychological impact is devastating. The men who had maintained a shred of pride now face the complete moral collapse of their nation. Everything they had fought for was revealed as evil. Hauptmann Walter Schmidt writes that they thought they were warriors for a great cause, but discovered they were the tools of criminals. They believed they were bringing civilization, but found they were the barbarians. This is the final breaking point. Between 1945 and 1946, 371,1683 German prisoners are repatriated. They leave behind a nation of abundance and return to a landscape of ruins. But they carry the knowledge of how a democratic industrial society functions. These men become the agents of the West German economic miracle. Many rise to the highest levels of the new government. Hans Kroll becomes the West German ambassador to the United States. Walter Hallstein becomes the first president of the European Commission. Rüdiger von Weimar serves as the German permanent representative to the United Nations. They carry American industrial efficiency and democratic ideals into the reconstruction of their homeland. The 1950s economic boom is built on foundations laid in the prison camps of Texas and Nebraska. They learned that prosperity comes from freedom, not conquest. America won the propaganda war not through clever messages, but through sheer reality. Every full meal and every working toilet was a physical argument against Nazism. The statistics are staggering. These men provided 14 million man-days of agricultural labor. The escape rate was a mere 0.6%. Over 40,000 prisoners enrolled in educational courses. In 1985, 500 of these former enemies returned to Austin, Texas, for a reunion. They came to thank the nation that showed them a different way to live. Former Oberst Hermann Gutz states that they came as enemies and left as friends. They arrived as believers in a lie and left as witnesses to the truth. They learned that America's true weapon was not its tanks, but its capacity for creation. The transformation that began on a train in Mexia, Texas was complete. The Germany that rose from the ashes was built by men who had seen the arsenal of democracy at its peak. The story of the German prisoners in America proves that the most enduring victories are won not through destruction, but through the simple, overwhelming evidence of what a free society can achieve. The men of the Afrika Korps were stunned by American might, but they were changed by American humanity. They saw the future, and they brought it home.